being with me here this morning, or actually, no, it's afternoon now.
Yeah, it's 12:30. I don't know. All the hours are running together, so I get it.
Pretty much. Yeah, the sun goes up and then it just comes down, and you just get stuff done in between, and then
Yeah.
sometimes late at night. So today we're here to talk about, if not now, when. I have the privilege of being here with Tamara Bass, who is serving multiple purposes in film, uh, screenwriter, director, and actress. Uh, so yeah, you're pretty busy there.
Oh my gosh. Yep. And then throw in producing it as well. It was at any given moment, I had no less than two hats on. So it was intense, but it was great.
Great. That's my question. But did you enjoy the process?
Oh my goodness. I'm a perpetual student, so I love learning. I was the kid that cried when we had snow days because I grew up in upstate New York. So I cried when we had snow days because that meant the school was closed. I like learning. I like asking questions. I mean, when I was a kid, I'd be like, Nana, can I ask you a question? And she'd take off her glasses and like rub the bridge of her nose and be like, okay, Andy girl, go for it. Cause it'd be like 20 straight minutes of questions. So with this process, it was like learning all over again. You learn things that you're really, really good at, things you thought you were good at, but you're not so great at, or things that you realize you're good at, but you don't like. So this process and wearing all those hats allowed me to know going forward what it is that I may or may not want to do again. So I loved it.
So that'll lead me into one of my questions I had anyway. So
Okay.
what did you learn from this experience?
I learned that I learned that I am a good director.
Good.
I learned that I'm also a really good producer. So it's but I did learn that it's not something I would do on a consistent basis. I have to really love the project in order to produce, because it's a time consuming and arduous process, especially to deliver something that looks good and sounds good and feels good. It's, anybody can say I'm a producer, but in order to really produce and get that produced by experience, you have to be all in, and you're dealing with a lot of different personalities and a lot of different obstacles. So if I don't love it, I don't think I would just readily say, hey, yes, I'll produce for you. And I also learned that I love ensemble pieces. I'm constantly creating. Right now, I'm pitching a TV show with me and Deborah Joy Winans attached that I created. And most people think, oh, when you're an actor and you create things, you're usually creating a star vehicle for yourself. And I'm like, no, I like ensembles. I like the camaraderie. I love, sharing scenes with multiple people and us feeding off of each other. That's the nerdy actor in me. So I mean, I learned just so much. I learned how to make a whole movie from beginning to end, the whole thing. So it was good.
I mean, definitely this project is something that it seemed like a passion project. I
Yes.
read your statement about the reasons why you're putting this together, and I thought it was a fantastic film.
Thank you so
Um,
much. Yes, it's like it was a labor of love.
you can feel it within the film because a lot of the moments, a lot of the character development was really well thought out.
Thank you.
And so I wanted to ask you, how did you determine the situations for each of the characters, including your own?
For me, I knew what my base was. I knew I wanted to make this love story and not your traditional love story, because it's, yes, while there's love aspects in it with their significant others, it's more so a love story amongst these women, amongst, this friendship and this camaraderie. So once I had that base, it was like, well, what topics do I want to explore? What topics do I want to have something to say about? Because for me, before I put pen to paper on anything, I'm like, what narrative am I trying to put forth? Because I'm a champion of Black women. I'm a champion of our stories being told in a respectful and honorable way. And I was like, okay, what topics don't necessarily get touched upon? And I went from there. I knew I wanted to tackle infertility because it's something that happens with a lot of women, and it's this hushed thing to say like, oh, I can't have kids. No, I want to normalize that conversation so they don't feel stigmatized, so they don't feel that there's something wrong with them because their bodies betrayed them. I wanted to tackle infidelity because I felt like it was so universal, but from a different mindset. It wasn't she's not a victim. She's like, hey, I got to make a stance. And once she gets back with her friends, it's like, oh wait, I can deal with that. I wanted to tackle, very important to me, is dreams deferred, and what happens when life gets in the way of you living your dream, and you have to adjust and you have to pivot. But it doesn't mean that your dream and your passion goes away. It just means like life came at you. And lastly, tackling addiction, and especially opioid addiction, it's something that isn't isn't readily discussed in the Black community. When you think of the stereotype that infuriates me. And I'm like, with opioids, that crisis is attacking a very specific subset. It's usually attacking upscale women in this upscale community. And you're like, wait, the soccer mom is addicted to Oxy? So I wanted to explore all of those things and see what happens. So there we are.
And so what I've really felt like you did is you I wouldn't say normalize it, because that's not the word I'm looking for these situations, but they're
Right.
common. Because I know, watching the film, I really felt like, oh, actually I know somebody who's going through this, I know somebody who's going through that. But it's the fact that despite these issues, uh, these four friends are able to come together and support each other in their times of need.
And that was important to me, and I wanted it to be in a non-judgmental way. Like, all of us have gone through things in our life, and sometimes we go through them alone because we think no one's going to understand. Yet the moment you open your mouth and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, you realize 10 other people are going through it too. And you're like, oh, if I just spoke about this, then maybe I wouldn't feel so isolated. Maybe I wouldn't feel so, cut off from the rest of the world. And that was my hope, is that when you watch it, you see it and you're like, oh, I know someone who's going through this, or I know someone who's going through that, because all of these situations I pulled from real things in my life. And I crossed them up and I mixed it all up. But there is someone in my life who has dealt with infertility. There's someone in my life who has dealt with infidelity. There's someone in my life who's dealt with addiction. And hell, I live with dreams deferred. So it's all of those things. And I was like, let's just, like you said, it's not normalizing it, but it's more so destigmatizing it. Like taking the taboo off of
Mhm.
discussing certain things. Because I think that's our problem as a society, is we don't talk enough about the things that are plaguing us. And if we spoke, if we reached out, I think and have compassion for those that are going through things, we might be just a little bit better off.
I agree. And the other thing that I really liked about it, you talked about it in a statement that I read about the film, was you see a lot of time, um, characters being competitive with one another,
Mm-hmm.
and then also the mentor to mentee, kind of
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's older, somebody who's already been through it.
Yeah,
In this film, it's okay to have your own issues, but also be that friend to be able to reach out to. And as I saw, it was, yeah, each of them have their own issues, but they can also help each other out. There's
correct.
nothing to say that just because you're going through something, you can't help somebody else.
And that's how I live my life. My life is far from perfect. I'm always going through something. And for years, I kept my struggles to myself. And I ended up in therapy for 5.5 years, just dealing with all of my stuff and dealing with, things that I thought I was the I'm fine girl. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. But one thing that helped me through that, even as I'm going through and dealing with everything, was still being able to be there for those that I love. Like, hey, I might disappear for a day, but if you really need me, throw up the bat signal and I got you. Because it actually helps sometimes when you help someone else deal with their thing. It helps put your thing in perspective, and it also helps you take your mind off of your thing, because we're all going through stuff. And sometimes you need reminders that it seems big and catastrophic in that moment, but in a greater context, sometimes your big thing is really, really, really tiny. So it's like, oh, okay, you can't pay your rent this month. That's fine. 10 people over here can't pay theirs either. That's why we're all here. What do you need? So it's that kind of thing. So I love that aspect of the movie as well. Like, hey, I got you. I'm going through my thing, but I still got you.
So the reason I smiled really big when you said that the bat signal is because I have my core 3 or 4 friends
Mm-hmm.
that we're all busy with our adult daily lives.
Yeah, we're adulting.
Yeah, but when somebody's going through something, that message comes through.
Yep.
Hey, we need to meet tonight. This is happening, and we call it the bat signal. Well, yeah, we haven't seen each other for a couple of weeks because we're doing our own thing.
Yeah.
But as soon as somebody needs somebody else, we're there for each other.
That's how it should be. It's like, I know, like, and even checking in with each other, saying, hey, are you, like, haven't talked to you in a few days. I know this is happening. Are you okay? Mm-hmm. Just so that everyone, sometimes it's just my best friend will be like, I haven't talked to you in a few days. Are you good? And I might just throw her back the thumbs up signal. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay, good. I just needed to know. And then keeps it going. So I think the bat signal is very important.
So one last question. What do you hope that audiences take away from your film?
I hope they take away that, number one, it's okay to put more than one Black woman in a movie at a time, guys. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. We can be more than one, and it can be a drama. But more importantly, I hope they understand and they take away the underall message is love. That if we love each other and we have compassion and kindness and not assume that you know what's happening in someone else's life and try not to take things so personally, then maybe we'll be better off.
Thank you so much for being.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Tamara, I really appreciate it. I really hope that everybody gets to see, if not now, when, January 8th on digital and on demand.
Thank you so much.
I hope you have a good day.
You too. Bye.